Chapter 191. Who the hell was he that his one gaze was able to constrict his breathing? Jupiter and Angelica also felt an inexplicable chill. Angelica looked around and realized that the air conditioner was not turned on in the room. Jupiter swallowed hard. He knew that Nash was the one who released this murderous aura. This murderous aura was infinitely stronger than that of Wesley's, who had fought on the battlefield. Nash said slowly, "I'll give you one last chance. If you continue with your stubbornness, then don't blame me for what I'll do." As a top killer, he could control his emotions very well. With the Lewis family's tragedy, he might seem calm on the surface when, in fact, the murderous intent in his heart was almost uncontrollable. His releasing it a little was enough to tear Cale's liver and gallbladder apart. Seeing that Nash was a little angry now, Old Walker yelled at Cale with tears in his eyes. "Cale, please tell them quickly." Nash was a friend of Walter, and that meant he was not a trivial person. Moreover, the inspection department respected Nash, and that showed his high status. They could not afford to offend someone like that. Cale was stunned by Old Walker's roaring, and his firm gaze flickered slightly. Jupiter caught him wavering and knew that Cale's determination had been shaken. He immediately said seriously, "Wesley blew up the Lewis family's estate, killing more than 50 people. His methods were extremely cruel. The second lady of the Lewis family is Mr. Calcraft's girlfriend. He's also the savior and sworn brother of the warden of the Northern Territory, so no matter how strong your backers are, they won't help." Cale's resistance completely faltered at that. He slowly closed his eyes and admitted weakly, He's at an abandoned construction site in Causeway Bay." As soon as he said that, the phone in his pocket rang. Cale took out his phone, and when he saw the number, his expression changed slightly. Wesley was the one calling him. Nash seemed to have guessed it and said, "Answer it on speaker mode. Don't let him find out." Cale tapped the answer button and turned on the speakerphone. "Cale, I've transferred $8 million to your account. You give this money to my parents and tell them not to contact me in the future. I'll go abroad tomorrow." Cale looked at Nash with a bewildered expression. After being stunned for 3 seconds, he hurriedly said, "Aren't you going to see Aunt and Uncle?" "Cale, is there someone beside you?" Wesley was vigilant and asked. Cale hurriedly answered, "No, I'm with Uncle." Wesley immediately hung up. Jupiter frowned and said, "Wesley served in the Southern Territory for several years. He has incredible anti-reconnaissance and is highly vigilant." Nash pinched the bridge of his nose and then raised his head. "Apart from Causeway Bay, is there anywhere else he often goes to?" he asked. Now that Wesley had become suspicious, he would definitely change places. After thinking a bit, Cale answered, "No. He has been hiding in that abandoned construction site in Causeway Bay during the 6 months he has returned. He also wouldn't let me see him." Jupiter and Angelica were a little dizzy. Johnford was such a big place that it might be difficult for them to find one person. Nash noticed a picture frame on the wall. One of the pictures was faded, and there was a woman in a shirt. It was taken around 2012. Old Walker followed Nash's gaze and explained, "That's my son's first love and his first girlfriend. She died of leukemia more than 10 years ago." The corner of Nash's mouth curled upward. "Where is she buried?" "The Lotus Cemetery in Brownstown." Chapter 192. Old Walker told them about the woman's grave. "Brownstown? What is that place?" Nash looked at Jupiter and Angelica suspiciously. Both of them shook their heads. "Brownstown is in Sagan," Cale said. Angelica's eyes flickered brightly. "Mr. Calcraft, you mean to say that Wesley will go back to visit the grave of his late girlfriend before he leaves abroad?" Before Nash could say anything, Jupiter answered, "Sagan is more than 1,000 miles away from Johnford. He's in a hurry to leave, so he won't waste his time easily. I think he'll come back to visit his parents. I think we should wait here." Nash took a sip of water calmly and then said, "His love back then was very pure. He's a tough guy with a soft heart. He left a picture of his girlfriend at home, which shows that he has always been in love with his first girlfriend." Jupiter said with some embarrassment, "It's indeed possible." Despite his 20 years of police experience, he still failed to notice the pictures on the wall. He suddenly doubted his ability to do things. Nash continued, However, we can't rule out the possibility that he may come back to visit his parents, so we'll divide into two groups. You and Angelica will wait here, and I will go to Bronzetown in Sagan." When Jupiter heard Nash affirm his guess, he smiled and said, "I'm fine here. Take Angelica with you. It's an unfamiliar place. Angelica can contact the local inspection department there to assist you." Nash quickly booked 2 air tickets to Sagan. At around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the two took a flight to Sagan. At Johnford Ministry of Political Affairs, Jade received a call from Henderson. "Governor, Wesley is most likely the one behind what happened to the Lewis family." "What?" Jade felt like his mind exploded. His hand slightly tightened around the pen he was using to review the documents. "Nash already found out about your eldest brother. His family is under his control now," Henderson whispered. Jade took a deep breath. "Let them investigate. If Wesley really did it, then this kid deserves to die." Henderson said in a low voice, "He's your nephew. I helped him once, but no one can save him this time. If I had known that something like this would happen, I wouldn't have helped him back then. I should have gotten people to arrest him." He snapped coldly. In the old warehouse on a deserted construction site at Causeway Bay, Johnford, 2 burly muscular men looked at the still smoking fire on the ground quietly. "Did he find out that we're coming?" "More or less, otherwise he would never have escaped so quickly." Both their faces were extremely gloomy. They were mercenaries sent by Skyblade to find Wesley. It took them a lot of effort to find a clue about where Wesley was, but they did not expect him to escape so quickly. Back at the restaurant, Jupiter had recruited a few old friends to pretend to be his poker friends and play cards in the restaurant. Jupiter deliberately sat with his back facing outside so that Wesley would not recognize him immediately. Signal jammers had been installed here, so there was no chance that Wesley would be tipped off. Old Walker's and his wife's faces were streaked with tears. Their hearts held nothing but disappointment for their son. At this time, a tall, muscular man walked into the restaurant. After glancing at the menu list hanging on the wall, he said, "I'll have a bolognese." Old Walker affirmed and then went into the kitchen to prepare the pasta. The muscular man sat on a chair, took out his phone, and started playing on it. Chapter 193. He frowned when he realized there was no signal on his phone. He looked up at the table in front of him just as Jupiter was also looking at him. The two of them locked eyes briefly, and both knew then that the other was no ordinary person. Jupiter lowered his head and played his cards so as not to reveal himself. A pair of 8s. At the same time, he developed a hypothesis of who the other person was. His speech carried a slight accent. He was muscular and wore men's shoes that had hidden blades. The shoes had an opening the thickness of a coin where the knives came out from. He was from the Skyblade group. Jupiter took a deep breath and then urged impatiently, "Could you guys make it quick? I really need the toilet." The men understood what he meant and quickly played their cards while Jupiter clutched his stomach and went outside. The signal jammer's coverage area was rather large, so Jupiter had to go farther away to make calls. 3 minutes after Jupiter left the restaurant, a woman passing by the restaurant on a shared bicycle collided with another man on a mountain bike. "Don't you have eyes?" the man yelled angrily. The woman was slightly dazed but then cursed. "Bastard, you're the blind one. I already slowed down and you still crashed into me." The man seemed highly irritable. He threw away his bicycle and went up to grab the woman by the hair before he started punching and kicking her. The woman did not just take it, however, as her nails left a few marks of blood on the man's face. The man took out a switchblade from his waist and stabbed it into the woman's shoulder. The restaurant was empty now as people were off to school and work. "Stop!" The patrol inspectors could not bear it anymore. They immediately stood up and ran toward the pair. The muscular man turned his head to look at Cale. "Where's the toilet?" Cale pointed to the kitchen. "Turn left at the back door." Jupiter failed to contact Nash and Angelica, so he sent a message to the two of them. He informed them that someone from Skyblade Group was also looking for Wesley. After sending the message, he returned to the restaurant immediately. All this took no more than 6 minutes. When he returned to the restaurant, he saw 2 of his colleagues holding down a middle-aged man. There was also a woman covered in blood sitting at the side. Jupiter frowned and asked, What's going on? This kid's got quite the road rage. He pulled out a knife. This is bad. They rushed into the restaurant immediately, only to see old Walker walking out with a tremble, bolognese in hand. The muscular man had disappeared. Where's the guy who ordered the bolognese just now? He went to the toilet, Cale responded casually. Jupiter immediately rushed to the toilet in the backyard. He checked the stall, and sure enough, the muscular man was nowhere to be seen. He returned to the restaurant and asked old Walker, "Did he ask you anything?" Old Walker replied with trembling lips, He asked me where Wesley was." He frowned at that. "Did you tell him?" Old Walker nodded nervously. Jupiter noted a faint red mark on Old Walker's neck. It was obviously left by a dagger, so he said nothing else. It was normal for one to reveal information in order to preserve one's life. They're really amazing. They were able to work together so seamlessly without even contacting each other. Jupiter took a deep breath. He had gained a better understanding of the strength of Skyblade Group and knew that his own people from the inspection department would likely have no chance of winning against them. As if having thought of something, Jupiter hurried out to look for the man with road rage who his colleagues had subdued. The moment he went out, however, he saw his two colleagues on the ground, knocked out. The bloody woman was shaking. Chapter 194. Outside Sagan Airport, just when Angelica turned on her phone and was about to book a taxi service, she saw a text message from Holt's team. She immediately informed Nash about Jupiter. "We must find Wesley before Skyblade's man," Nash said solemnly. "They shouldn't be able to find Bronzetown, right?" Angelica looked at Nash in surprise and said, "Bronzetown was the place Nash found out after seeing the photo of Wesley's first love and girlfriend in Walker's home. Those from Skyblade definitely would not be able to think of it." Nash raised his hand and called for a taxi. "Then you might not understand the power of these top mercenaries. If they can find the restaurant, they'll definitely be able to find out where Wesley is hiding." One taxi came to a stop by the side of the road. Nash got into the car. After getting in next to Nash, Angelica said, "With Holt's team around, those mercenaries won't be able to get close to old Walker and the others so easily." Nash smiled but did not say anything. Angelica had never dealt with mercenaries, so of course, she was not privy to their methods. He had dealt with mercenaries many times before, so he knew these top mercenary groups very well. Those people cooperated tacitly and were almost as good as all those top detectives when it came to investigations. Seeing that Nash was not about to give her an explanation, Angelica could not help blushing. "Did I understand something wrong?" "No, you're right. But we still have to find Wesley as soon as possible." After nearly 90 minutes of driving, the taxi stopped outside Bronzetown. The parking lot outside the town was filled with a variety of luxurious cars. Many internet celebrities were here to check out the place and take pictures. There was a table next to the parking lot and the sign next to it said ticket office. The conductor was a young man with blonde hair, and he was looking at the beautiful women coming and going with great interest. "Here," Angelica looked around and said, "I called a classmate of mine. She should be here soon. We're not here to travel, so there's no need to trouble her." Nash went straight to the ticket office. "Give me 2 tickets," Nash said. He then took out his phone and scanned the QR code to pay. The conductor took out 2 tickets and placed them on the table. 2 tickets for $100. $400. Nash stared, dumbfounded. Why would the tickets to a scenic spot cost $200? It was not that he did not have the money. He just did not want to be taken for a fool. "If you don't have money, then why travel? Go back to your farm." The conductor shot Nash a look of disdain. He was about to take the tickets back when Nash reacted. "So be it. $400. Not wanting to waste time, Nash did not bother stooping to the ticket conductor's level to argue with him. Just as he was scanning the QR code, a fair and delicate hand blocked the QR code. "Angelica, is your friend a moron? Is he really going to buy the tickets for that price?" "Moron?" The corner of Nash's mouth twitched slightly before he turned his head to look at the person. It was a tall, beautiful woman with wavy hair, fair skin, and exquisite facial features. She was wearing a fleece sweater and a red leather jacket while her slender legs were wrapped in tight jeans. She had an extremely eye-catching figure. "Who the hell are you? Don't interfere with my business." The conductor huffed as he glared at the beauty. The beauty introduced herself with a half-smile. Felicity Snyder, Deputy Chief of the Sagan Inspection Department. Deputy Chief of the Inspection Department? You? Chapter 195. Then I'm the governor of Sagan. The conductor obviously did not believe the young beauty to be the deputy chief of the inspection department. It was not only him, as even Nash did not believe it. Felicity pinched the conductor's ear, then lifted her leather jacket to reveal her ID card inside. The conductor's pupils abruptly shrunk. Fuck. Are you really the deputy chief? Felicity pushed the conductor down on the table with a smack. You scalpers are really stubborn. You keep cheating money out of fools. Doesn't it keep you up at night? Nash turned to look at Angelica. Am I one of the fools she's talking about? Angelica gulped. Maybe. Nash felt momentarily ashamed. If he had not been in a hurry and had not been trying to avoid attention, he would not have chosen to spend $400 on the tickets. Miss, I slipped up. I won't do it again. You're a kind-hearted woman. You're also powerful, so please just ignore this. The scalper begged for mercy with a mournful expression. Fuck right off. If I see you scalpers again, I'll catch you all one by one. Felicity had no intention of lowering herself to the scalper's level, so she let him go. The scalper ran away without even taking the 2 tickets on the table with him. A few tourists from abroad who were standing nearby looked at the tickets in their hands, dumbfounded. Did they buy excessively priced tickets sold by scalpers? Felicity looked at the tourists who had been scammed and taunted. You should have read the travel guides before coming, then you wouldn't have been deceived. Angelica, is your classmate really the deputy chief? Nash would have thought she was a lunatic if she had not introduced herself just now. Angelica smiled. Sagan is a special place. The inspection department's rules and regulations are relatively loose here. Felicity has only been in office for less than half a year, but she has already reorganized many of the towns and villages. What are you two muttering about? Felicity walked up to Nash and Angelica casually. Angelica smiled and said, Felicity, let me introduce you. This is... Don't. I don't want to meet any idiots, or I might become dumber under their influence. Felicity cut her off with disdain. Nash's lips curled, but he did not bother paying attention to the deputy chief. Felicity handed the 2 tickets the scalper left behind to Angelica. Let's go. I'll take you to Bronzetown. There were 2 gates at the ticket entrance. One used facial recognition and was mainly for the residents of Bronzetown to come and go. The other gate needed to be opened manually by the ticket inspector. There were many antique buildings and various food stalls inside Bronzetown. There were internet celebrities dressed in traditional garb taking photos. There was also a crew clearing out a street to shoot a movie. Felicity walked along the street in a bold manner with her hands behind her back like she was some big shot who ruled the territory here. Angelica informed Felicity of their purpose in coming to the cemetery in Bronzetown. When Felicity heard that Angelica had come to capture a top-level Skyblade mercenary, her interest was immediately piqued. Please do. If you catch such a powerful person, that'd be at least a second-class merit. Angelica smiled. We don't know for sure if Wesley is in Bronzetown. After contemplating a bit, Felicity said, a 35-year-old man still has a photo of his first love hung at home. This shows that he's still deep in love and hasn't moved on after his ex-girlfriend's death. He definitely has no plans of returning after absconding this time, so I think he'll definitely come to pay a visit to his ex-girlfriend for the last time. Angelica replied with a grin. You thought the same as Nash. Nash? Who's Nash? That idiot at the back? Is he even worthy of being compared to me?